listening to Cody Lundin's Keep Your Ass Alive, where Cody teaches real people real skills, giving raw, hard survival advice with a hug. And now, broadcasting from somewhere in a high desert wilderness, here's Cody.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Keep Your Ass Alive. I'm Cody Lundin, your host, and I have a special guest with us, Amanda Fenton, who is basically the art director for the Survival Show with Cody Lundin. So the reason we have Amanda on here is, one, the Survival Show rocks, and she was the art director. So a lot of the visuals you're seeing in the Survival Show, she did it. She did a lot of the work for that, as well as some other stuff that we'll talk to her about. So her background had been in art for quite some time. We'll ask her about that, and then we'll get into some specifics of the show, some behind-the-scenes action, so to speak, about how she did that effect in the studio, in her art studio, to get that crazy effect that she got for the viewers watching the Survival Show. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Alive. So first question, when did you first become interested in art?
Well, I've been an artist since I was a kid. I was fortunate to be born into a very creative family and consider myself extremely fortunate to have had parents who encouraged me in that path. I always like to give a shout out to my dad regarding that. He had us sitting at the kitchen table drawing instead of watching TV, and that made a huge impression on me.
Is your dad an artist too?
He is.
Wow.
Yeah, he is.
What media did he do?
Primarily drawing, sketching, that sort of thing. So he did a little bit of pastel painting as well.
So he literally had you have siblings then?
I do, yes. And he had all of us sitting at the kitchen table drawing.
So your dad had you and your siblings drawing from how early of an age? It sounds like really little.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even remember, 4 or 5, something like that. We were always doing something creative. So
what was your dad's favorite media? You mentioned drawing, but for me, I remember when I was a kid, my fingers were messy because I was way into finger painting and stuff like that. What sort of media did Dad pull out? Was it literally just a pencil?
We were just drawing with
colored
pencils most of the time. Yeah.
Okay. So what type of art do you prefer to create? I know we'll talk about the Survival Show, and that's why you're here. But you do much more than that. What is your primary focus on your artwork that you do?
Painting, absolutely. I paint murals and paint on canvas. I paint in a little watercolor sketch journal all the time. That's where I put most of my artistic focus.
So when you say painting, are you talking acrylics, oils, all the above, or what?
Yes, acrylics, oils, watercolor. I also do pen and ink. And still sketch like I grew up doing.
Right. So regarding the painting, what's your preference? Is it acrylic? Is it oil? Is it both?
My preference is oil, but I have a lot of experience in both. And I tend to do a lot of acrylic painting, also latex when I'm working on a mural. So I do both a lot.
Why is your preference oil?
I just like the texture of the paint, and I like that I can keep reworking it for a while.
What does that mean, reworking it?
Acrylic dries a lot faster, so oil gives you a chance to fiddle with it for a little longer and keep that painting evolving.
What, as far as paintings, like, do you do portraits? Do you do wildlife? What is your niche that you like to do regarding acrylic or oil painting?
I love painting wildlife and landscapes especially.
In Arizona? You're local to Arizona, correct?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So do you like painting landscapes of Maine or whatever, or do you like Southwestern art in general?
I have been focusing a lot on Southwestern art recently. However, I love wildlife everywhere, so I paint anything that interests me and just kind of see where that goes.
At this point in time, do you have anything you're focusing on now with your paintings?
I have been focusing a lot recently on a series I'm doing of birds of Baja, California. So that's been my...
Cool.
Yeah.
Baja's pretty crazy. There's probably some pretty weird looking birds in Baja.
Yeah, there are.
I mean, Baja has what? They have deserts, mountains.
Yes.
And either the
ocean birds.
The ocean or the Sea of Cortez, right? Yes. So do you prefer the ocean birds or does it matter? Or you mentioned, obviously you like birds.
Yes, I do. It doesn't really matter to me. I like to just, whatever bird catches my interest, that's what I'll paint
That's
next.
what you'll paint. at the
Yeah,
time.
I like the unusual too. So,
Okay.
and birds are just weird creatures.
They
And
are weird creatures.
It's fascinating everywhere in the world. They're really
They
interesting.
say they're like, some people think they were like the original dinosaurs or something like that. Some
I've
of
heard
these,
that.
I'm trying to picture a T-Rex with feathers. Looks like a big chicken. I can't really wrap my head around it. You were the art director for the survival show with Cody Lundin. That was a big title, right? There was a lot of stuff going on. What type of artwork did you do on the show?
Anything you needed me to do. It was
I know
all
you
over the map.
painted,
Yeah.
Right? You painted. There was no oil paint, I remember. There was acrylics.
Yes.
You worked on some of the characters on the show. You worked on some of the backgrounds on the show.
Yes.
I remember you decorated sets on the show.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything else? I mean, no, you had
Lots
to
of
be,
sewing.
Lots of
I
sewing.
would not consider myself a seamstress, but
What
but
was
there
the
were
sewing part?
little costumes and accessories for the Mansons, which we'll get into. And yeah, it was a lot of little crafty things that I didn't really anticipate going into that project.
So with working on the survival show, would you consider you kind of had to be the jack of all trades on
Absolutely.
that, right?
Yeah. We had such a small crew and limited budget. And that made a huge difference as far as
I was a cheap ass. That's what she really means.
as far as necessity being the mother of invention. That was
Right.
definitely, we were always reaching for some, trying to make ends meet.
Right. And I do want to talk to you about the Mansons. That's actually my next question. Did you choose the name the Manson Family for the show?
I did. Unfortunately, I have to take credit for that.
So how did that work?
That was one of those ideas that I had that just popped into my head. I think you asked me something like, what would be a good name for the family? And that was where my word association went. And as soon as I thought it, I thought I shouldn't say that out loud. And I did. And the rest is history.
Indeed. The rest is history. What I want to do is I want to thrill you, the viewing audience. And Tony is going to run a full episode of the Mansons, and we'll talk to Amanda more about how she made those episodes. This one's called Magic Mushrooms, so you can see where this is going from season 2. So let's turn our chairs, and Tony, roll the tape.
Cold water makes you shrink and zombies stink. I'm loving them Mansons, that's what I think. It's time for my most favorite TV show, The Mansons. I wonder what kind of mischief they will get into this time.
Aren't the mix of colors stunning, kids? The greens, the reds, the ochres, the burnt umbers, and aquamarine blues? By Gaia's sweet bosom, love leprechaun, your world-famous salad has done it again.
Why, thank you, dear.
Yeah, Ma, and out here it looks like we're all walking on your salad, too. Except for the bugs.
Nice one, turd breath.
Hey, no fair, cootie pants. I meant it as a nice thing, Ma. Really.
I know you did, honey.
Hey, can't we all just enjoy the majestic stillness and heartwarming ambiance of this wilderness jewel? Great Rowdy Roddy Piper, people.
Sorry, Dad.
Pa.
No harm, no foul, kidlings. Hey, as totally terrific as your mother's great garden of green is, I bet I know a little morsel that would turn up the flavor saver.
Whoa, cool, Pa. Is this another one of your wilderness wisdoms?
You bet it is, sport. Why, I bet you didn't know that we could eat those tender little tidbits over there, now did you?
Groovy, Dad! Mushrooms! I have lots of friends at school that love to eat shrooms.
Dear? I've heard there are several types of mushrooms that are poisonous. Are you sure this type is safe to eat?
I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Sweetness. See how friendly they look? Why, I've seen this type of mushroom in cartoons as a kid. And I ask you, Sugar Pants, what could be safer than a children's cartoon on TV? Am I right? Kids, go grab some of that fantastic fungus to add to your mother's salad.
Gosh, Dad, you were right. Those mushrooms made Mom's salad taste awesome.
That's right, Princess. What do you think? Dear? Ah! Great Pluto's ghost!
Daddy, all the plants are breathing.
Whee! Pa, look at me! Free Willy!
Hey, Marvin Jr., what's up, bro?
I'm coming, hon. Payback's a bitch.
All the plants.
So, what a crazy trip that episode was. So I'm going to ask you some behind the scenes questions later on some other episodes. But the creepy fairy, one, where did you get the creepy fairy? Do you remember that? And how did you get the laser beams to shoot out of the creepy fairy's eyes to kill the gnomes? Unfortunately, I was a big gnome fan until this episode, right?
Well, sorry that you were a gnome fan. That didn't end well. But let's see, the fairy was a thrift store special, as I recall. And again, we're working on a budget here. and I did repaint her. The laser beams.
Do you remember what she looked like from the thrift store before you repainted her?
Vaguely, yeah. I think it was it was just a little more muted, pastels.
Okay. So you blew her up a little bit with paint,
yeah,
so
just
she was
made
more,
her pop a little more. So.
Right. Well, then how did you get the laser beams that come out of her eyeballs?
The laser beams were actually wooden skewers, like what you might...
Like shish kebab stuff?
Exactly. And I painted them red and attached them to her eyes for that brief scene.
That is crazy. That's literally it.
That's it. Yeah.
Jeez. So when those laser beams come out, they torch some of these little fun-loving gnomes, as we all know. We just watched the episode. How did you make that explosion when the gnomes meet their demise? There's like a cloud of whatever. How did you do that?
The explosions I made using cotton balls. I believe some of them were dyed and some were just plain white cotton balls. And I added some fairy lights, ironically enough, and blended that in with the cotton balls. And I believe there was a mini flashlight involved in the background, and then just manipulating the cotton balls to make it appear to move.
It's an awesome scene. It's an awesome look. So literally you're using stuff like this is, well, I did the budget, so I should know. This is like bottom of the barrel budget for this stuff.
This is very much a do-it-yourself at home project.
What did you use? How did you paint the cotton balls?
I dyed them.
Oh, you dyed them?
Yeah. I had some kind of a blue, I think I just used blue paint and water and dyed them and just kind of made it a slightly more smoky appearance.
And we'll talk about, the actual methodology of art, which has been around for decades, the method that you used for this. But I'm assuming you just started out with a few cotton balls, more as the frames progressed to get that, because it ends up with a fairly big explosion.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're just adding
more.
And
removing and manipulating them.
The fairy lights, I don't see the fairy lights, but I see the fairy lights. Mm-hmm. So were they intermixed with the cotton balls or just behind the cotton balls?
Both. Yeah, just to add different varying levels of brightness for the camera. So I didn't want it to be totally exposed most of the time, just kind of hide it like a cloud.
Right. So there's the crazy scene where, unfortunately, I'm riding a rhinoceros. Because
yes,
the
you did make a guest appearance.
I did make a guest appearance in this Manson's because they're tripping their brains out. Remember what mushrooms you're eating. Don't eat what the Mansons did. And I have, of all things, in my hand a minigun, and I'm firing a minigun at, I believe, Darth Vader or other things that are there as well. How did you get the muzzle flash on the minigun?
So the muzzle flash was actually, talk about working on a budget. This was actually made with little scraps of produce bags. So like the kind you might buy a bag of clementines inside. No. And I cut up tiny pieces of it and just kind of weave them together. And I would, again, like with the cotton balls, take away some, add some in. And for that brief scene, it made the appearance of muzzle flash. So
now if you're wondering in your home studio or wherever you're watching this from, the camper, if you're homeless or whatever, well, why don't you know, Cody, what Amanda did and how she did? Well, the cool thing about Amanda is I gave her a Manson script. Okay, here's what the characters are going to be saying. And every Manson's episode has an intention. As zany as crazy as it is, obviously the Magic Mushrooms episode is don't eat stuff that you don't know what it's about, right? Because it could have negative effects. So in the survival show in the Mansons, they're dying so you don't have to die, is essentially what the Mansons are about. And what I would do is I would give Amanda a written script. Okay, here's what these characters are supposed to say. And if it was a flash flood in a canyon, she knew she was going to make a canyon or whatever it was. But I gave you pretty much full reign to do whatever the hell you wanted to do, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm not lording over her, standing over her, going, oh, yeah, you took a clementine's bag and ripped it up to make a muzzle flash on a minigun. I let her do her thing because she's a professional artist, and it turned out awesome. So when I'm asking these questions, sometimes I'm learning for the first time as well. And how the hell did you get that effect? And she has, other stuff I'm sure she'll share in this episode too. So she did a bang up job, and I pretty much let you have full reign. Is that, as an artist, because I know you know other artists, there's a pro and a con between a client that's over your shoulders being a pain in the ass, and then a pro and a con with a client that backs off and lets you have total full reign. Where's the happy medium for you? Because for some artists, just go ahead and do it would be terrifying, right? They would want to be micromanaged. How did you work it with the survival show, with that long leash, so to speak? And what do you prefer with the clients that you have in everyday life when you're not doing the survival show that are buying your paintings, as an example?
Well, I would say working on the survival show, that was a great experience as far as a happy medium goes. I felt like I had creative control, and you were entirely supportive of what the end result was. I knew you'd let me know if you weren't. And going into each project, you would give me an idea of what you wanted as far as the script and general basics like the location. Like, I want this to be in a canyon, or would like this to be in a forest, that sort of thing. So you did give me some direction, so I knew more or less what you wanted. But then you let me kind of experiment with just how that translated on
I mean,
film.
you did some killer sets. I mean, we'll see some of them in this episode. We already saw some, like, I'm just trying to wrap my head about if I had to do this, I would just be like, blah, 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 because I don't know. In Frank, where do you come up with this shit? Like, how did you come up with these sets? If I say desert canyon or tropical jungle, that's wide latitude. There's no really descriptor in that other than we're not on the moon and we're not in the middle of the ocean. How did you pull together the stuff for the backgrounds? Because the sets, I mean, you have the set that the Mansons are on, you have the set incorporating their movements, and then you have a set that appears like it's only part of the set that it's a 2D, like it's a photo on the wall. How did you set up one of the sets is what I'm getting at in general.
Do you mean how I came up with the concept, or how?
Yeah, the concept, and like, how does that tree stand up? Are you hot gluing the palm tree so it doesn't fall over? What are some of the mechanics beyond the ideas about how you actually made some of these sets?
Okay. So it's like you mentioned, I believe it was a combination of 2D and 3D. So there was a 2D background in most cases and sort of a three-dimensional base that all of this was taking place on. How I created it conceptually was sort of a combination of imagination and desperation. So sometimes I would have an idea in my head and I would get halfway into it and realize maybe it wasn't such a hot idea, but by that point I'd already committed so much that I would just keep going with it. And some of the forest and jungle scenes were the hardest, as far as a messy sort of surface area to work on.
What do you mean by messy surface area?
So stop motion is created by manipulating an object in small increments and photographing each increment of movement so that when it's played back, it will appear to move. Any object
the Mansons
can move.
are pure stop motion.
Yes.
But old school stop motion.
Yes.
So when the family moves around, when Marv or Latifah or whoever move, click, click,
exactly.
click.
Exactly.
So are you saying that if there's a rough ground they're walking on, they kept falling over and doing crazy stuff?
Exactly. That's exactly the issue. So yeah, some surfaces were a little easier to work on than others. And I have a tendency to think of some fantastical background and then, after I'd created it, realized maybe having moss on the surface wasn't such a hot idea, but it worked out in the end. And so it was an interesting experiment though, to see kind of what worked and what didn't.
Well, you mentioned a sketchbook when you do traditional art, that you do thumbnail stuff as maybe ideas for painting. Did you ever do any thumbnail stuff for the Mansons when you built their sets, or did you just go right into it?
Not so much. Yeah. I had some time. I would say that I spent some time looking maybe online at like jungle images and trying to think of what might make a good background. But most of that just came out of my own head as far as...
That's the amazing part. She was winging a lot of this. One, because of my cheap-ass budget for the show. And two, I mean, did you have... I know you said desperation, and I get that.
Yeah.
Because the show is a tremendous amount of work, and you know that. Because you're there for a lot of it. But was it fun?
Yes,
at some point doing the Mansons and just having that creative license to mess around?
Yes, absolutely. I mentioned earlier that I love to paint, but really all forms of art where I can totally lose myself and get into that flow state are appealing to me. So stop motion, as far as stop motion goes, that was my first foray into stop motion. And when you asked me to do that project, and it was at times very taxing and confusing, and I was learning a lot. It was a huge learning curve for me personally, but I really enjoyed getting lost in the project. And after a certain point, once I set up that scene and started going with it, I was totally focused and the hours would slip away. And
speaking of hours, what generically, the Mansons are what, from 3 to 5 minutes long?
Something
right?
like
The
that,
Manson
yes.
Family.
Yeah.
What does it take, old school stop motion, in your case with the Manson Family? How many hours did it take to do an episode? I mean, you're not going to believe what's probably going to come out of her mouth, because the 3 or 4 minutes you're watching on your TV is not 3 or 4 minutes in her art studio. What was the time frame? Do you remember?
It varied, but it would definitely be between 4 and 5 days, sometimes longer.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Could be 6 days or more for like a full day, work day. And sometimes that would stretch into probably closer to 6 or 7. But yeah, it was a solid week for sure of effort. And that was, yes. Yeah, that was with some editing. And then obviously that's not including the editing that happened afterwards with sound effects being added.
That's just your part of it, right?
Yeah.
So Amanda did literally the stop motion. The sound effects and whatever of people dying, because they always do, was a post thing, right? That was edited later in. And the raw footage, though, was something that she shot. So we talked about stop motion animation. Were you ever inspired by other forms of stop motion? Remember that we had that old school Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that a lot of people go, I'm pissed I haven't seen it in a while. I don't know who owns the copyright on that, with the abominable snowman and whatever. Did you dig stop motion? And if so, are there artists out there that you like their style of stop motion?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I never really imagined myself doing it, but I definitely there were several artists that made an impression on me growing up. I probably still have lingering childhood trauma from watching Jason and the Argonauts the first time. So Ray Harryhausen is like the godfather of stop motion. Absolutely. He had an influence. Nick Park, who did the Wallace and Gromit series. I loved Army of Darkness. That had some great stop motion in it as well. So yeah, there were probably too many to count.
I don't expect you to know this because I don't know it. And maybe Tony knows it. How old is stop motion? I mean, the camera was obviously needed. Does anyone know how far stop motion goes back?
I think the late 1800s.
You're kidding.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I mean, I think it took off a little more maybe in the early 1900s, but I believe it was started a little sooner than that.
Wow. So it's been around a long time. I have to ask, which one of the Manson family was the most difficult to deal with on set?
Marv, for sure. A bit long-winded, bit of a buffoon, really full of himself.
Really full of himself.
And he topples over a lot.
He topples over a lot. So is he like doing the whiskey on
Hard
the
to say, but he's definitely a little top-heavy.
He's top-heavy.
Maybe a big head, you might say.
He's got a big head. That's a good one for Marv. If you're familiar with the Manson family, please don't follow Marv's advice. Marv has dubious advice that gets his family definitely in trouble. This will be another wild card question because I know it's huge. You've already mentioned a little bit. How many different forms of art did you have to do the Mansons? You mentioned sewing. Mm-hmm. You mentioned painting. We know you're dyeing cotton balls. We know you're ripping apart fruit bags, God help you. What other crazy stuff, because of Cody Lundin's cheap-ass budget, did you need to do what you did?
Well, obviously the set creation, that could get really involved. The base that I mentioned earlier that they were on. And then there was painting, and sometimes I'd have to find a small piece of something that fit whatever was needed. But more often than buying things, I was making things.
That's
so
super cool.
There was a lot of making little.
So give me an example of the picnic table.
Yes.
Did you make the picnic table?
I did not make the picnic table, but I did repaint it to add a few personalized touches.
You added graffiti on the picnic table, right?
Yeah. I think there's some carvings on there and dinged it up a bit. There was a lot of aging involved too, like anyone probably with set decoration knows. So there was some of that. And so lots of painting, actually, painting little objects and repainting the Mansons themselves when they got dinged up. And
how many times have the Mansons been repainted? Do you remember?
I couldn't possibly tell you. I've lost track.
So when people watch the Mansons, they, of course, approach me and talk to me about it. And 90% of the people out there go, that Clay family, the Mansons, they're not Clay. We don't get into what they really are, but people seem to assume, maybe it's because of Wallace and Gromit or whatever, that they're Clay, and they're not. They're essentially
plastic figurines,
right? But what that told me about the clay thing, because the Mansons don't move their mouth, and we can talk about things they do with their eyeballs, right? What that means to me is people are reading into more animation of the bodies than is actually going on. Now, part of that's your job, like when Marv takes a bite out of a marshmallow or whatever, you're adding different things in there when they're holding a pizza, but I'm just curious, why do you think people assume they're clay? And do you think it's just because of the stop motion stuff that's already out there, like Wallace and Gromit? Or do you think people are reading in to them being more animated than they actually are on their set?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I do know claymation is a really popular form of stop motion animation. So sometimes people get the two kind of blurred in their minds and think all stop motion is claymation. But I did try very, very hard. The Mansons have extremely stiff joints.
Yeah.
They don't bend at all. And it was an effort to make them appear as though they were moving in a certain fashion. So I had to get pretty creative with that. And
how did you do that though? Because I notice when they're saying, and when like Latifah or some of the others, sometimes they move forward when they're enunciating something that's meant to be said a little bit louder.
Right.
I know you were given a script, but did you just luck out with the timing?
I would go through. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, how did you do the timing on that? Because the body motions of them emphasizing speech, like if Latifah's yelling at Marvin Jr., her little brother, sometimes she would pitch forward and it would work great with the audio that was dropped in. When you were reading the script, were you looking for you must have been looking for little nuances like
absolutely. That. Yes, absolutely. I always had the script right in front of me and I was kind of counting the beats in between their movements and literally reading the script out loud and imagining how they might deliver that message.
What do you mean counting the beats on that?
Just trying to allow enough time for someone to say the sentence that was provided to me, making sure that they had enough time to maybe say it and then turn and put down a plate they were holding or something like that. And so I did a lot of reading out loud to myself in the studio.
Now we know it's stop motion. And, again, this is a survival podcast and we're talking about the survival show and one of the geniuses behind that. But if people want to get into stop motion, you used a program, right, yes, to do this. What was it?
I used Dragon Frame.
Okay.
And it was great. I had a really great experience with that.
And it was a learning curve involved. How difficult it was to, I'm not talking making sets and whatever, but to use the actual software. What would people expect if they wanted to learn stop motion? Hey, this is going to take you a day to wrap your head around this, a week. Was it easier for you to use that software?
I was a complete novice using that software, and it did take me a little while. I can't recall how long, a few days before I felt really comfortable, but I did practice. I did a few practice runs.
That's pretty damn quick, though.
Yeah,
a few days.
I would say so.
Because you're talking about an entire different media of artwork.
Yeah. And there was a lot of learning on the job, too, because as I continued to film the Mansons, I felt a little more comfortable doing certain things, had a little better of an idea of what might or might not work or look good,
right,
what might be more challenging to kind of stitch together as a movement. And it made more sense to me the further I went. So it was learning on the job, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I want to go over, we showed magic mushrooms. I want to go over 3 different pieces of episodes. One is Bear Brawl, one is Marshmallow Mayhem, and one is Ocean Enema. Don't get me started on that name. And I'm going to have Tony roll the tape in a little bit on all 3 of them, and I'm going to ask you about specific scenes, about how in the hell did you achieve the look of it looking like that on camera in your studio. So, Tony, why don't you roll Bear Brawl for us, and let's let our viewers check it out.
Dog Dutch oven!
That was gruesome. Okay, so first question right off the bat, there's a lot of body parts flying off in Bear Brawl. This is a full-on grizzly attack. How did you literally dismember the Mansons, like with like a tiny saw and then throw them in? Where did you get all the body parts for the Mansons?
I'm not quite that heartless.
Okay.
So I actually sculpted each one out of clay and then hand painted. No. So every dismembered body part was carefully crafted so that the Mansons wouldn't be harmed. No Mansons were literally harmed in the making of this.
Did you use like Sculpey clay, or what type of clay did you use to do that?
Yeah, just an air dry clay.
And then you have to paint it.
Yeah. Very simple.
So when Marv's head rolls out of the tent, because it's just been swatted off his head by a grizzly bear, you sculpted his head, you painted it, and then through stop motion and dragon frame, you're rolling a little bit more, click, right? Is that how you're getting that?
Yes. Yeah. Spinning the head slowly.
There's a part that's really graphic, like we saw, where the screen is just sprayed with blood. Right? It's just like red. How did you achieve that bloody look?
I didn't want to get anything on the camera lens, obviously. So I had a clear sheet that I splattered blood.
Like some vellum or something?
Yeah. I had a clear sheet like vellum, and I just splattered it with red paint and then held it in front of the camera for those shots. And that's what created that effect. It's disturbing.
It is disturbing. I showed that to some people, and, the Mansons are all peaceful and whatever. And then they get attacked because they brought a peanut butter and tuna fish sandwich in the tent. And I've had people audibly scream when the bear. So you clearly did an effective, terrifying job with tiny figurines, which is commendable. So I want to look at another one. Tony's going to roll the tape on a little piece called Marshmallow Mayhem.
Now see, all we need to do is strike this match and...
Ouch. So I'm taking it the Mansons were unusable after that scene. Is that the case?
Yeah. I just realized I said no Mansons were harmed, but that's not
Mansons
true.
Were harmed.
One, yes.
Mansons
one time.
Were melted. Right?
Mansons didn't make it through that.
So I have to ask,
set.
the fire looked so realistic. Was it?
It was absolutely real, and I have the scorch marks on my studio to prove it.
You burned your studio with that episode of The Mansons.
Yeah, that didn't end well for anyone.
Like where the hell's my fire extinguisher?
Not quite that bad, but I realized, as I so often have, I was in a little over my head about halfway through filming that.
Does that mean where's the wet towel? How did you put the fire?
Yeah, I think there was a big cup of water involved and maybe a wet towel.
Well, thankfully that didn't get in the shot.
I did have I had a bucket of water handy. But
a bucket of water handy. Okay.
Just in case. I wasn't entirely unprepared.
Because this is in your studio. It's in a structure, right?
Absolutely. I had to do it indoors just to contain things and to get the right lighting. And, there's too many variables outside. So
look how committed she is. Almost burning down her own art studio to film The Mansons for you selfish bastards. I hope you enjoyed it. Last one, this is a name that'll get you going, is Ocean Enema. Tony, run Ocean Enema for us.
7 years ago.
I don't want to go to gym class.
Yucky, double yucky. So 2 questions. How did you get the effect of the water in Ocean Enema?
The water was actually created using that cheap blue hair gel that you may be familiar with.
You're kidding.
Nope, that was the only thing I could come up with that had the texture that I wanted at the time. So what I did was I laid down a flat surface of plexiglass, and then I coated it with blue hair gel, and like those giant bottles that you can get for $2.99 at a big box store. And then I coated that with saran wrap, and then just proceeded to manipulate the saran wrap.
Because the ocean's moving. Waves. So is that your fingers coming on the saran wrap?
That is, yeah.
Wow. Because it looks like water, right? So the cheap, obviously, I don't use much hair gel in my world. How much hair gel did you use for this episode?
I think I managed to get away with just one. I was well within the budgetary requirements, $2.99, something like that. I think it was, it was a big old tub.
A big old tub. Damn. Now, speaking about the ocean, Marv, of course, dies, as they all do. And there's a scene you did where there's some species of shark and a hammerhead shark. And Marv is dead, floating, about to be consumed. And you have these silhouettes of these sharks swimming around Marv, shot like they were from a guy in scuba apparatus with an underwater camera. How in the hell did you do that?
That one was interesting. I actually really am proud of the way that turned out. I wasn't sure what I was doing with it, but I knew the look I wanted to achieve. So what I did was I set the camera on the tripod on the floor, and I had it pointed directly up at the ceiling. And then I think I balanced between like 2 tables or something. I had a sheet of clear plexiglass above that. And on that, I put the plastic figurines of the sharks. And then above them, I put the other plastic plexiglass sheet with the hair gel and saran wrap and Marv on top of that one. And so it was a dual layer, essentially. And then it was just a lot of moving the figures and the water around while I filmed it frame by frame.
When the sharks are moving, how are they doing that? Because is the other piece of plexiglass laying on the sharks, or did you put some blocks or something on the side where you could just move the sharks freely and the plexiglass was just supporting?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I probably didn't explain that clearly. I think I had bricks, something to
probably
separate
literal
the two.
Bricks,
yeah,
right?
Quite likely. Just something to separate the 2 levels of plexiglass from each other so that the sharks could move independently from the waves and from Marv.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
I bet it was a lot of fun. So obviously the Mansons are super old school. It's all like Harryhausen all over again. It's like Jason and the Argonauts. It's rudimentary stop motion, right? It's old school.
Oh yeah,
it has
very
some
basic
soul to it. Nowadays, with the CGI, movies, whatever, we've done some amazing advancements on computer effects. Do you feel anything's been lost going total new school as opposed to the old school in that art, because it is art, and how that's perceived maybe by the viewer that's watching it?
I think that we're making so many advancements with CGI right now that we can become numb to how amazing it actually is. And what's interesting to me is that stop motion, even when it's very simplistic and basic, still retains that fascinating quality that we like to go back. I've enjoyed going back and watching very old very crudely done, and forms of animation, whether it's stop motion or others. And it just has more of a human quality to it that I think people tend to respond to.
It has soul.
Yeah, more authentic somehow. So I think that both are incredible, but I think that obviously I'm biased. There's always a really special place for handmade art, whatever that is.
Amen to that. Speaking of handmade art, what other things do you remember doing that I had you do or that you just did on the survival show? What other roles did you have? You were camera at times. You were audio at times. We talked about you dressing sets. When the guests would come in, you would do the lavalier. You'd mic people up. You had foundation base layer. If someone was shining, you'd apply makeup. Like what else do you remember about that show and what you did?
Oh gosh. It was really an all hands on deck thing. And so with our small crew, we all jumped in, and not just myself, but we all had so many hats that we were wearing in that production that it's almost impossible to remember them all.
It was a blast. It was a shitload of work and very nerve-wracking, like production is. But man, it was a lot of fun just to be able to create stuff from the heart with there was no executive hounding. There was no one trying to mess with the recipe for the cookies. And you were a huge part of that because a lot of the a lot of the creative part is yours. And the Mansons, it's solo. And that's why I wanted to dedicate this episode to you and that artwork, because the Mansons kick ass so much. I mean, I had a person I know in Beverly Hills, California that does movie trailers. And we're talking movie trailers. He has a signed image of, the Wolverine from Hugh Jackman in his office. So he did Spider-Man, Superman. He does major motion picture movie trailers. And I traded him an outdoor survival course to do the trailer for the survival show. So this was done by a high, slick production Beverly Hills studio. And what did he gravitate to as the opening scene of this trailer? The Manson Family. So that's how much a guy with this much production value, who'd been dealing with movie stars and, multi-million-dollar budgets, took one look at the Mansons and was like, game on. We're going to open this trailer with them. That's a pretty damn big compliment for your art. It's a very big compliment. Now, so tell us about Fenton Art Studio. What is it doing now? You mentioned paintings, you mentioned birds, but you mentioned that you like the oils over the acrylics. But tell us about your true profession of Fenton Art Studio. What's your hopes and dreams? What are you doing now, etc.?
Well, Fenton Art Studio is my business. It's a one-woman show, and I am offering my painting services primarily. I do all sorts of art, but what I'm focusing on at the moment is murals, custom design work, which might be in a home or a business. And I also sell my paintings on canvas. And I'm open to all forms of commission art. So every now and then I get a request for something like a pet portrait or a family portrait. So
what about crazy stop motion? Would you like, no, I'm not doing that?
No, I'd be open to that too.
Yeah, right, sure. So primarily painting murals.
Yes.
And you have some social media. Tony's going to put your stuff on the credits where people can access you after this episode. But what are your handles right off the bat? Do you have a Facebook? What do you have for social media? How are you promoting your work?
So I have a Facebook and an Instagram account. They are both under Fenton Art Studio. And you can also find me at www.fentonartstudio.com.
Cool. You got it. You actually got the name on the World Wide Web. Awesome. So I have a thing we do, a little episode on the show that's called Make Tony Titter. Now, tittering, if you look it up in the dictionary, is not like a ha, ha, ha. It's kind of like a nervous laugh, but however he laughs is up to him. So what I have here is this invisible magic joke book with funny jokes.
Oh,
and how I know it's funny is because it says it. And who can't believe and judge a book by its cover in this case, right? So what I'm going to have you do, Amanda, is with this pen and piece of paper, I want you to write down the number of jokes that you think I'm going to have to tell Tony to make him titter. Now, I'm warning you that these jokes are extremely powerful. They're charged with magic hilarity, but write down whatever number. And now, you folks at home, how many jokes is it going to take to make Tony titter? Maybe you'll get the answer correct. Maybe Amanda will. So when she's done writing down, we're not going to show Tony. I don't want to amplify his hilarity any more than it will already be from this book. What do you got? Show me, but not Tony. Ooh, okay. So what I'm going to do is randomly open this book of funny jokes to whatever page it comes to. Amanda can laugh or not. This is all on Tony. This is about making Tony titter. Now, Tony is a professional humorist in a way, because Tony used to work for many years and supervise that Cartoon Network. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't think of anything funnier than someone working at Cartoon Network. You have to have the pulse on humor and what's funny worldwide.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I change my number? I'd just like to change
I guess so, Amanda. I wanted to say cheater, but we'll let her do it. Okay. Ooh, okay. So just put that here. I don't want Tony to see
Papers
it.
Down.
Tony, are you ready to titter?
I am ready.
Okay. Randomly opening. Mother, doctor, you've got to help my son. He thinks he's a smoke detector. Doc, calm down. There's no cause for alarm. Nothing. Okay, hold on. Chuck, how's your new job as a night watchman? Pat, I'm really good at it. The slightest noise wakes me up. Okay. Little boy, Mommy, why do flamingos stand on one leg? Mommy, because if they picked up the other leg, they'd fall over. We got him. Awesome. Now, Amanda, what did you have here? 47? Oh, ye of little faith.
Cartoon Network.
I have a great sense of humor. I like all kinds.
47 jokes. He cracked in 3. So that makes Tony titter. Thank you, Tony.
I guess you can judge a book by its cover.
You can judge a book by its cover. So that's our episode for this show. I want to thank Amanda Fenton again, who is the art director for the Survival Show with Cody Lundin. She did an amazing job on the Mansons and so much other stuff on the show. Thank you.
Thank you
for
very
visiting
much.
Keep Your Ass Alive. Hey, you can leave your comments for us. If you have a question that we may or may not answer on the show, you can email us at keepyourassalive@gmail.com. Stay safe, follow your heart, and we'll see you on the next episode of Keep Your Ass Alive. Hey campers, so that's it for this episode of Keep Your Ass Alive. Tune in next time and we'll talk to people just like you about survival advice or whatever floats your boat. Want to watch the only survival show on Earth, created, hosted, and produced by a real survival instructor? Check out The Survival Show with Cody Lundin at thesurvivalshow.com. Want to take your learning to the next level? Please visit my Aboriginal Living Skills School at www.codylundin.com. We offer field courses in modern outdoor survival, primitive living skills, or urban preparedness to enhance your self-reliance, confidence, and safety in the city or the wilderness.
Visit www.codylundin.com today.